In Australia, as it is most places, when you say transport, you mean driving in a car, of course. Even if you're just going around the corner to get something from a shop. But just in the last years, I've noticed more and more people like myself who are beginning to jump up on the bicycle and people using their feet. My advice, number one, to anyone who would want to make that shift and become carbon-free when you move around, is to invest. Invest in, for instance, in a proper bike, an electric bike or a cargo bike or something that will really make you feel that you are independent, that you can manage without the car. For instance, when you want to go shopping or take the kids somewhere, or if you want to transport something. The good news is that the more of us who jump up in the saddle and start walking and so on, the safer the roads will become for us. But don't take it from me, I'm obviously very biased coming from the cycling country of Denmark. Let's hear from a couple of locals who've dared to change their transport habits, about why they have done it.
Riding my bike I feel is a privilege, and it's deeply symbolic for me. There's no cost to me to do this, to not drive my car, just to ride my bike. I feel connected with the natural world and my community. It's lovely.
If we're saying we need to go in the direction of a zero emissions future, we need to bring into focus what that future might look like, because at the moment it's so hazy that people don't even know what the first step is, and also they feel threatened, I think, by that. Like, does that mean we're going to have to go without a lot of things, and feel really our quality of life go down and things like that?
We have to get to zero carbon fast, but there are many other good reasons for cycling.
Recent research has shown that we only need to have elevated cardiorespiratory functioning for a few minutes a day to get the benefit of exercise. We don't have to go to the gym and do an hour or whatever. I mean, maybe good if you can, but the research is showing that the bulk of the benefit we get is in the first 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, you have to work quite hard in that 3 or 4 minutes, but then you've got the benefit. So if you have some short distance to ride to work, get on your bike and crank, and you've got the health benefit just in that one small few minutes. When the weather's difficult, when the weather's inclement, maybe it feels like a small cost until I get going. And then it's easy. This is my way of letting go of the world I used to have, where I just took it for granted. I would just drive everywhere. And when I thought about leaving that world and going to a world which has less energy, where it feels like the right thing to ride my bike instead of driving my car, it felt like I'm going to have to give something up. It's going to be difficult. But as I've made the change, it now I just feel so free. And I feel connected with nature, with the natural world. I feel connected with my neighbourhood, my community, and it's just a really nice symbolic thing to do. I mean, I don't ride just for symbolism, but when I'm riding, it feels deeply meaningful to me. So it's a privilege.
I have 2 kids, and we use a cargo bike as a car alternative most of the time. We do actually have a car, but when we got the cargo bike, we put it on a car share platform, so we actually don't have the use of it most of the time, and yeah, it's working out really well. In fact, we feel now quite confident that we could manage without the car. I noticed in the last year that a lot more families are using cargo bikes in my local community, and that's kind of exciting to me, because when I think about where we have to get to in the future with zero emission society, I think we have to get around using other means, not cars, and I think bikes are a big part of that. So I'm really interested in how we can make that transition, and looking at the practicalities of what that means. Does it mean we have to do things differently or do different activities, do things more locally or whatever it might be.
So what about flying? Should we all just stop flying?
I think it was the first meeting or maybe the second meeting we took this quiz out, and it asks you to reflect on your life and what it is that you're actually doing, how you're living and how you're experiencing your life. And in that quiz there was this thing about the amount of times that you flew, you know, and so it said, oh, add up this amount of points or that amount of points for the amount of times that you flew. And of course I was flying quite a lot. I was flying every week up to Sydney. And so I was thinking, oh well, it's only a short hop. It's not like I'm going to Ireland. If I was going back to Ireland every week, it'd be big. But it's just Sydney. But when we added up all of the points that we had for the quiz, it told us basically how many, given the population of the planet, how many planets we would actually need if everyone were to live like that. And in my case, it turned out to be 5 or 7 planets, so something ridiculous and obviously unsustainable. And so really that did make me think about taking responsibility for my own life again, so bring it back down to the local to see, well, can I bring my life back into within one planet? And if I can, then I'm doing my little piece from where I'm at. So yeah, it got me thinking about, well, how do I change this flight pattern? How do I, stop maybe doing that and reorganize my whole life, my income and what have you. And so I've done that by not taking those plane flights and by changing the way that I'm working and bringing that back into Geelong base, which is very local to me. So I don't need to fly. In fact, I've gone a step further. I said, at this stage I'm consulting, and I've said, well, if I can cycle to you, you can be my client. But if I can't cycle to you, you can't be my client. So that was a pretty big step. But anyway, so it's different in terms of the thinking, and that's how that's how it kind of affected me and got me thinking, how do I shrink my carbon footprint? When I'm going to work, this is the bike that I take with me to work. Typically I put my computer in the side pannier on here. I might have, if I'm away for a day or two, I might take some clothes, pack it inside in here, towel, change of gear, and then phones and any other charging equipment that I might need up the front, and away I go. I'm good to go for a couple of days, at least like that, at work. This is an office on wheels.
There's so many more benefits than just not emitting carbon. Sometimes the weather's really hot. I'm lucky enough to have an electric assist on my bike, and so I actually find it really pleasant in hot weather on the bike because you just get a really nice breeze and you don't have to push yourself hard. You can use the motor. And sometimes, even if you're in all your waterproof gear, likewise the electric assist helps because you don't work up a big sweat.
So much fun for all of us. I'll be riding down the street in the morning and my son will be yelling out, wake up everyone! Or then we'll be yelling out to the ducks hello, or noticing, changes in the Merry Creek, or it's just really fun and bonding for us all. I think we all arrive much happier to school without being stuck in the traffic.
Sometimes I imagine what it will be like for my kids as adults looking back at this time, and I'm quite certain that by the time they're adults we will be carbon free or close to carbon free, but the question is whether we've done it quickly enough to prevent catastrophic climate change, and I think that they will look at this time as critical, and it will become like, I think they'll see all the frivolous use of everything that burns carbon and just think we were insane. And even though I don't have the power to change the world right now, but I at least want to be consistent with my feelings about that. So I'm aware, I know that we have to transition, and so why would I wait? I need to try and move towards it now. Now I'm living in a society that's so carbon-based that I can't be carbon-free, but I can take steps that are consistent with what I believe in, which is that we need to stop just using cars for every frivolous trip, and we need to just really evaluate our lifestyles, I suppose, and what we can do that's consistent with a different future, a more optimistic future where we do reach the emissions cuts we need in time.